All right, and here we are going to talk about the need for a completely new international tribunal. Okay, it might seem ambitious and all that, but it certainly is required. So this is the establishment of an international tribunal for crimes against the unborn. So recognizing that the intentional termination of an unborn human life constitutes a grave violation of the fundamental right to life, and acknowledging that large-scale abortion practices amount to crimes against humanity and the acts of genocide under international law, this tribunal is hereby established to investigate, prosecute, and punish those responsible for the systemic killing of unborn children. Right. So that's the topic of today's conversation. Right. Should the we be left to should we pass the buck to the domestic courts? Most certainly not, because the domestic courts have already ruled with the types of Roe v. Wade and things like that, which has been repealed, right? And that type of ruling has been repealed, but we still have these smaller courts allowing for this type of murder to take place, right? And the murder that I'm specifically talking about is not medical or surgical abortions. It is the administration of abortifacients. And now abortifacients, if you're not sure, is that the birth control will not actually prevent the pregnancy. It will not. The baby, the small boy or the small girl will be conceived. And what a beautiful act of conception that is. So when the sperm will meet the egg inside of the fallopian tube there, if you remember from the embryology, right? We did a video about embryology. You can check that out. So what happens is that the sperm will meet the released egg, right? And the baby will be conceived of 50% DNA from the father and 50% DNA from the mother, and it's an entirely new boy or girl. And we will not say the embryo or the blastocyst and using the word it that will dehumanize this small boy or small girl. We will call it how it is. Established in medical science, it's a small boy or a small girl. It's a baby. The baby will continue its stage of development until the implantation, where it will be unfortunately killed. So that's why these types of international crimes have failed to act, prosecute, indict and prosecute, and punish those who are responsible. All right, so the establishment of the tribunal here is what is required for a society to redeem itself, for sure. So the tribunal, known as the International Tribunal for Crimes Against the Unborn, is hereby constituted as an independent judicial body to prosecute individuals responsible for the unlawful termination of unborn human life. Okay. The International Tribunal for Crimes Against the Unborn shall have jurisdiction over individuals regardless of nationality, political status, or location of the offense. The tribunal shall operate under the framework of international human rights law and natural law principles. Right. So jurisdiction. And so these types of the jurisdiction shall be shall be over the mass abortion policies that result in widespread or systematic killing of unborn children, the administration, manufacture, or distribution of chemical or surgical means of killing unborn children, the passing of or enforcement of laws that enable the mass termination of unborn human life, the intentional misrepresentation of medical science to justify or promote abortion practices. And what am I talking about there is the idea that implantation is the starting of a pregnancy. It most certainly is not. The basic embryology day one will establish in fact that the conception, where the sperm will meet the egg and the new DNA is formed, is the new baby. It's a boy or a girl. Again, it's a baby. Yeah. So, and the baby will die as a result of these chemicals and all that stuff. Crimes prosecuted under this tribunal shall be considered crimes against humanity, and in cases where the intention to eliminate a specific ethnic or religious or cultural group is evident, as genocide under Article 6 of this Rome Statute. We don't need to specifically go into this Rome Statute, but it is defined. It is defined, and it certainly meets the definition. Um, So the composition of a tribunal, right, shall be shall be. We're going to go a little bit fast here, but a panel of judges, a team of prosecutors, defense attorneys, and all that stuff. And there's a specific need for defense attorneys, right? Defense attorneys are especially crucial when it comes to the administration of justice, right? And we want to make sure that the administration of justice is the sanctity of the law is respected, right? And that's really really important. I don't know why it's not. Mentioned here, but it should be. And so these defendants here shall be fully there's no self-representation that I will I would submit that this kind of thing is there must be defense attorneys to protect the rights of the defendants, and I'm sure anybody with the any type of reason will agree with me about that. But investigative bodies, Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Well, it can never be reconciliation. You can never bring back the millions of lives lost, the society that was prevented from flourishing. Man, it's a rather a dark topic, but it certainly is true. It's the stuff of a thousand nightmares. It really, really is. The abortion industry and types of Planned Parenthoods and right down to my very own hometown, Clare Medical Center. Clare Medical Center. All right, so horrible, horrible stuff. Right. Um, I would just add here the defense attorneys to be you know indispensable to the defense strategies of these doctors, right? The doctors, and Dr. Michel Dow is guilty of, is alleged to be guilty of, abortions, right? And certainly my child is gone and will never come back because of the. See, the thing is, and I did state this before that the baby is conceived and the baby died at the stage of implantation. It's just a stage of development, and they have arbitrarily deemed that that is the starting of a pregnancy when they know it's not. But there's no defense. I mean, they are guilty, but there certainly should be the best legal team to defend these abortionists, because we want to maintain and preserve the administration of justice, especially in a serious matter like this. All right, so investigation and prosecution, arrest warrants, extradition procedures, and all this stuff. And financial assets. That's a big topic all in itself. Confiscate financial assets obtained through participation in the abortion industry. Well, just to mention about that, I mean, there's huge money. I mean, huge money, huge money. It's quite. We're not going to get into that too much. Life imprisonment, right? The penalty should be life imprisonment. Absolutely. The enablers and accomplices should have a custodial sentence. There should be prison. A prison sentence is severe, administered with the full weight of the international law. Bans. I mean, revocation of medical licenses for sure, on 100%. That is a wonderful point. Their licenses should be revoked permanently. Permanently, yeah. Assets, seizures, and all that stuff. Sure, again, financials. We're not going to talk about that too much. So the national governments of our time have been, brainwashed. Perhaps with the spread of feminism and all this stuff, but these illogical arguments and everything have been enough to persuade lawmakers to somehow turn a blind eye to allow abortions. What kind of society are we living in? But we should document the history of abortion atrocities. And we should. It is ensuring that future generations, this generation should recognize, and future generations should recognize this practice as one of the greatest, or the greatest crimes in human history. It certainly is. The tribunal shall establish memorials and educational initiatives to honor their victims of abortion. So, for example, in Cambodia's Pol Pot era, there's a whole bunch of museums and everything where you can honor the lives lost and everything like that. Now, Here's a wonderful point, right? The dissolution, right? The dissolution of the tribunal, the ITCU, which is the International Tribunal of Crimes Against the Unborn, shall remain in operation until abortion is universally recognized as a crime and no longer practiced in any jurisdiction. And then after that, that tribunal has done its work, and that is law. That is law. What we have now are these types of smaller, provincial courts and domestic courts. That's not the law, right? This is what I'm talking about here is the law. This is the law. This is the law, and we should make sure that there's not any kind. We should have any kind of oversight, civilian oversight. We should ensure transparency. Like I said over here, the best defense teams, legal defense lawyers, and everything like that to maintain the integrity and the sanctity of the law, especially for such an important international tribunal. Lots to unpack here. Lots to unpack here, but certainly is an important topic of conversation that we can get into in greater detail. But certainly this would be what is necessary to, and don't get me wrong, and it will end. And this is the I didn't make a video about this. It will end. All right, this will end. This ridiculous crime against humanity, this genocide, will end someday. It will end, and that's, I guess, what we can be hopeful for. It will end, and these types of Dr. Dow and all these abortionists will go down in history as dishonorable, and their legacy that will be left behind will be one of well, let's just say they were on the wrong side of history, and they will be forgotten, and their legacy will be the potential for a great legacy is lost, right? The potential for a great legacy, that's what is lost. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'll see you in the next video.